like I just feel like life is structured in a certain way, but then I came to realize over time that life actually isn't. Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to my channel. I know you guys have been trying to ask whether I'm releasing content over the last 1 year or so, and yeah, I wasn't. And this is an opportunity for me in 2020 to do better. I launching my Truth Republic podcast and community, and I figured this year I would want to start off by, today is my 30th birthday, and I'd wanted to do something special for you guys. So one, head off to any podcast platform that you listen to, search for Truth Republic Sessions, and then also head to YouTube and find Truth Republic, of course, and subscribe because that's where you're at. But I wanted to share with you 30 things that I've learned in my 30s. And if you know me, I always say that I'm not a genius, I'm not a guru in anything that I talk about, but you know that I love to share. And so if you're here, I know you really want to know what 30 things that I've learned in my 30s are. If you find something useful, take it, run with it. If you find that it's, you don't agree or these things don't make sense to you, let it pass by like the wind. So let's get into it. 30 lessons at 30. 1. You are enough. There is no other you. I think we live in a society where social media is really at our faces. Like we're constantly on our phones and we see pictures of people that are edited, Snapchat filters, Instagram filters. Like there's just a lot of facade about people's lives that we are now exposed to. And the reality is you can get so caught up in thinking that you're not enough and that you're not doing as well as the people around you. But I want to remind you, what most people are sharing is their highlights. So I've learned to appreciate where I'm at, being who I am, but more importantly, just focusing on being who I want to be and not what the people around me are. And I came across a quote by E. Cummings that says, "To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human can fight, but never stop fighting." So meaning, the social media is never going to stop. We're getting into a digital space where technology is constantly progressing. So this is going to continually happen. But to remember that you don't get lost in who you truly are, and being confident in who you truly are is what's important. So keep fighting. I think being a Christian, I believe in an ideal world. Like if heaven was on earth, like it's what we constantly pray for, that we get to a place where there is no pain, no sorrow, everybody is nice, nobody's bad. Like you either are doing one thing to get the other, or like I just feel like life is structured in a certain way. But then I came to realize over time that life actually isn't. Like people are different, people have different experiences. Human beings are just wired differently. Our cultures, our perspectives are all shaping how we make decisions. So life is not black and white actually. Life is red, purple, green, sometimes a bit of yellow, and orange here and there. But the thing is, the beauty in all this up and down and turmoil at times, grief, joy, laughter, is life is like a rainbow. You need both the sun and the rain to make its colors appear. And that's why for me, when I talk to people nowadays, I am more concerned about where are they at, sort of meet them and encourage them based on where they're at, as opposed to, condescending comments about how ideal scenarios should look like. Everybody knows about ideals. The reality is, where am I at right now? Could somebody meet me here? And so I'm more recipient to that sort of approach now, as opposed to be the judgmental type. Number 3 is, life is all about making choices. So make the best ones, keeping your future in mind. If I actually took this seriously when I was in my 20s, honestly, I would have factored in a lot of decisions that would ultimately make me a better person in my later 20s, since now I'm just entering 30. But I've just actually realized that every single thing you do in life is a decision that's going to progressively or ultimately be accounted for later in your future. So it could be weeks, days, months, years, but it's going to account for something. What you're eating, how your lifestyle is, all of that are going to account for something in the future. So while you make those decisions, make them wisely. So life is a matter of choices, and every choice you make makes you. Number 4, you're not always misunderstood. Sometimes you misrepresent. I got to a point in my 20s where I always wondered, why do I always feel like the way people describe me isn't who I truly am? And I realized that sometimes, honestly, it's not that people misunderstand you. It's just that you misrepresent yourself. I'll give an example. In a society where people say, you can dress and be whatever you want, act the way you feel like, people shouldn't judge you, the reality is people still do. So I am of the school of thought that you should work on building your character, as that is constantly speaking for you. Honestly, dress like you'd want to be addressed. In a society that is busy and people lack depth, to be honest, first impressions count for everything. I know we would want to say, okay, it's good that somebody saw you and passed you, but that could be a job opportunity you're desperate for. That could be a life partner that you're constantly praying for. And just because you misrepresented who you truly are on the inside, you miss out on opportunities. So if you are somebody else on the inside, make sure that your outside looks like who you are on the inside. Don't be confusing people. Number 5, not all popular things are right. I've sat in groups and had conversations with people, and people are always saying things like, but people normally do X, Y, Z. But I've come to the realization that a lot of things that have been done for years aren't absolutely right, or great things to constantly continue doing. And I've grown to believe I have to constantly question and challenge the status quo. Redefining and learning and questioning why certain things are done helps people to have different viewpoints about the belief systems that the society has created. And to be honest, to be a great leader or dare to lead, you need to challenge established patterns so that people can begin to have new perspectives to doing things. I mean, this idea to me honestly just means you have to come from a point where you are very audacious, confident enough to stand for things and be able to constantly learn, to evolve, so that you can be able to communicate those things that don't make sense. That's why we talk of progressive societies. And I'm not saying, get rid of culture, but I'm just saying there's some belief systems that we have that aren't doing the best for us. And so then I move to point number 6. Lesson number 6 is, they say that faith is a substitute of fear. I say love is. In situations where we're talking about being able to progress in life and, going for opportunities and challenging ourselves, you could probably say faith is the replacement of fear. But I would want to look at it from the point of view where perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment, and there's no one who fears. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. And this is from the book of 1 John 4:18. I'm sorry I have to just Bible thump, but that text to me means that if you ever got into a situation or a place where you found people that loved you just for being you, and regardless of your flaws or your, misfortunes or whatever, they just loved you for being you. Those things that make you cringe or make you feel ashamed or make you feel like you're less than, to go out there and, show the world what you're made of, just because you have confidence in people that cheer you on, love you, support you, would make you feel unstoppable. Like you would be able to go out there and do your thing because you have people at your corner who see you, who appreciate you, who see what you're capable of doing just because it's you. And that's why I say love is what casts out fear. And I'm glad that I have the love of Christ, but I'm also talking about receiving the same sort of love, agape love, from people just around you. I mean, if we're Christians and we're supposed to love like Christ did, I mean, why not challenge ourselves to be those? So that's my lesson 6. Lesson 7. I hated hearing this while I was in school, to be honest. Oh, bad company is not good. It spoils your character. And I used to think it's cliche. But now as a 30-year-old, I would tell you, surround yourself with people that bring the best out of you. As much as a lot of people refuse to believe it, the company you keep, honestly, does have an impact and influence on your choices. I mean, our conversations feed ideology and perspectives and viewpoints to life that ultimately alter the way we make decisions. So be careful who you're learning ideologies from. And I'll say just surround yourself with people rather than people that reflect who you want to be. A lot of times we're with people who are comfortable where they're at. They don't challenge themselves to be better. They sort of feed more on your negative aspect than they do empower the positive aspect of you. And so just being able to be conscious about your energies and the people that are around you and what that brings out of you is important, like for your 20 lessons that you need to focus on. So number 8, I would say, is your genuine friendships is rare. When you come across it, hold on to it. I think by the time you get to 30, you'd have gone through primary school, high school, university, started a career, and you'll realize if you look at the friends that you have now, your best friend in primary, do you know where they're at? Probably not. Your best friend in high school, not quite sure whether you know where they're at. How about your best friend in uni? How about the friends you made when you got your first job? Probably no idea. But if you've met those that you met in high school or in primary or along your life's journey that loved you for just being you, they're a breath of fresh air. Keep those guys close to you. They appreciate you, they love you, they see you. Besides the big titles you're trying to carry now, besides the money that you have in your bank account, besides the social status that you currently have, they just love you for you. And if you meet those in your life, hold them close. I have friends that I met in primary school. I celebrate 15, 20 years of knowing them. And if I'm being honest, we don't talk on a regular basis, but I do know that if I ever needed somebody to talk to, somebody, to give me legit, genuine advice, and they would call me out on my BS, then, those were the people that I would look up to. And there are people that I've met over my journey that are just amazing people that looked out for my interest even when I had nothing to offer. And that in itself just made me realize that there are very few genuine people on this journey. And if you do meet them, don't let them go. Number 9, not all life experiences can be explained, both good and bad. Learn to let things go. Have you ever tried to find answers to issues in life? A breakup, you need an explanation, or a loss of a job, why did it happen to me? Or why the pandemic happened to anybody? But the reality is, some of these things we don't have answers. And to free yourself to live more fully instead of wallowing in concerns and worry, choose to let go. And so the reality is, I wouldn't want to say that all the things that happen to us are supposed to be disregarded. Some of them we learn, and some of them, it's good to have closure. But then certain things just don't. Choose to forgive yourself for making certain decisions or being in certain situations and just let go. Number 10, travel the world and have experiences of what's possible. This will help you challenge your ideologies and perspectives. Having been in Kenya for the longest time and then having relocated to the UAE for the last 6 years, there are just a lot of things I thought were the way life is And then I've met people who actually consider what I considered normal as very abnormal. And that made me just challenge the things that I believe in. Like, why do I do certain things? Why do I see life in a certain way? And to be honest, that helps you see life from a very whole different view. And I think if you are surrounded by people who think like you, behave like you, raised like you, it's really difficult to sort of open your mind to this kind of things. So, travel the world, like see what other people are like, have conversations with people that are not like you, different nationalities, different countries. This will really, help you grow and learn and unlearn a few things. And then I'd say, number 11, read. And if you can't afford to take a flight, nowadays we're in a society where people are releasing content online, and there's podcasts, there are YouTube videos, and there are so many books that people are writing, self-published authors. Those are just individuals putting their thoughts on paper. That's a good point to actually be able to connect with people with different viewpoints. So I challenge you, try and get outside what you think is normal, and you would see how this will push you for growth. Number 12, personal development is a necessity, not a luxury. I don't know, I can't over-explain or really go deep into expounding this, but I'd want to say this: life is about growth, and if you're not growing, honestly, you're dying. The only person you are destined to become is who you decide to be. That's what Ralph Waldo said. And if I think about it, is even in the Bible, when you see the fig tree that wasn't producing fruit, Jesus cursed it. And that's to mean we're on this earth that we may grow and constantly be progressing to become better people. At every level of your life, there's always room for improvement. So work on yourself. Focus and intentionally purpose to grow yourself in all aspects of life, not just career-wise, physically, emotionally, socially. Just push yourself to grow. Number 13. I feel like I'm listing you guys' points and I'm like reading a book, but bear with me because there are 30. We're on number 13 and you guys have time, so you can sit through this one. Number 13, your past doesn't define you. Anybody who has issues being haunted by their past, the terrible ex, that terrible decision you made while drunk, not too good. But the reality is, everybody has bad decisions, at some point. But the reality is, if you are alive as you're listening to me, that means you've made it past your past. So you have an opportunity to recreate a new future and focus on being a better version of yourself. So rewrite a new story. Accept the past, but don't let it have the power to control your present and your future. There are better things in life to look forward to. Nobody ever progresses through life looking through the rearview mirror. There's some quote that says something around that, but can't remember it word for word. But you guys have an idea of what I'm talking about. If you look at my 14th lesson, I've come to learn you can reinvent yourself anytime you want. But that doesn't mean you're fake. Because I've realized when people change and they become someone different, people always come for them with thoughts like, oh, you're funny, oh, this is not who you really are. The reality is you can be whoever you want to be. So at every level of growth, you're going to need to be a different person to sustain that level. And so constantly pursue self-reinventment. And I would say, I wanted to read a quote. So keep working on yourself every day to be a better you. And few days, years, months down the line, you'll fail to recognize the girl or the boy you used to be. And trust you me, it is so fulfilling. 15, marriage is not a reward for good behavior. Oh God, can somebody just increase the volume on that one? I used to think that, if I do a certain list of good things, then, God would just present the Mr. Right. I'm a good woman, I'm respectful, talk of the Proverbs 31 woman, but then unfortunately, you can't find a mate. The reality is, I don't think marriage is a reward for good behavior. I do know of many people that are not well behaved and are married. I know of people who are complete opposite of what the Proverbs 31 woman is supposed to be, and they found husbands. So, sis, don't pressure yourself, and don't walk around feeling like the lack of the title makes you any less than. And I think society just needs to stop measuring women's worth or value by who they are married to or the presence of or lack of a man in their life. Women, I mean, you are good enough just being you. When the right man comes, good for you. And even if they don't, you're still a good woman. Number 16, empathy is a key characteristic to have in this society where we're telling it like it is with no regards for people's emotion is praised. I think this one for me is just, people on Twitter, like always coming for people, making comments, like regardless of what the emotional state of the people receiving the messages that they are posting and all of that. I think instead of people just trying to bash and talk down people, focus on giving hope, speaking life into people's, lives instead of being toxic. And I know toxic is misused nowadays on social media, but I know you get what I mean. Just try and put yourself in the shoes of those you're trying to speak to, and you'll realize you love on them way better and even more. I'm not saying that you don't love on people enough, but I'm just saying being empathetic and putting yourself in their shoes is more relatable, and you connect with people better. Let's move to my 17th lesson. In this world, nobody owes you anything. Be grateful to those that show up for you. Huh? Did I say entitlement? I think, especially being a Christian, I think a lot of people just believe that because people are Christians, they should do certain things for you. And I guess that's right. Christians are supposed to behave in a certain type of way. But then remember, people, they're variables to people's lives. There are people who would be willing to help but don't have the resources. There are people who would need to sacrifice a lot to help you. And coming from an entitled point of view, you barely have even any gratitude because you think everybody owes you the help. Just keep that in mind, because your heart posture really determines how you receive from people. What separates privilege from entitlement is gratitude. That's what Brené Brown says. 18, delayed obedience is disobedience. If you've heard from God, if you have an instruction from God to do anything and it was set to be at 11 a.m. and you do it at 11:05, sis, you're late. And probably I'll talk about this in a different session, but that's a lesson that I took in my early 20s. Number 19, we are created to create. So we live in a copy me too type of society. But the thing is, we're made in the image of God. And so that means there's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of newness. I know there's nothing new under the sun, but everybody brings a fresh aspect to things because those things have been done before, but they've never been done by you. So push yourself to create, because that propels you to a better you, a more self-discovered version of yourself. You'd realize that there are elements of you that you've never fully discovered by just pushing yourself to try and create and do new things to make the world a better place. Number 20, hey? Money answers all problems, but it's not everything. This pandemic taught us this. Like, you've seen that people had money. Like, a lot of people acquired wealth, and the pandemic just put us all on the same point. Those who used to take luxurious flights are seated with us at home, wearing masks and sanitizing. Tissue was very important to all of us. I don't know why there was tissue though. Why? Why did we need tissues though? But then the reality is, money answers a lot of problems, but there are a lot of people with money and still unfulfilled. There are a lot of people with money that don't have friends, society, loved ones to share this with. And so I would say there is more to money than most of us seem to think. So while you're chasing careers and trying to chase money, I hope that you seek balance and understand that there are other ways to have a more fulfilled life than money. I'm not saying money is bad. I need money. That's why I'm here, right? Number 21, your gut. Your gut. I don't know, you call it the Holy Spirit, you call it intuition, you call it whatever you call it. Your gut is your secret best friend. Trust it. If I'm being honest, every single time that I thought or felt the nudge to make a certain decision and I didn't make it, I ended up regretting not making it. I had those, I thought about this, man. I knew this was going to happen, but then I didn't. I knew this was going to happen. I wish I did this because I thought about this and I didn't do it. But the reality is, my gut has never been wrong. Till now that I'm 30, my gut has never been wrong. And until the day my gut is proven wrong, I will be honest to believe that my gut is always right. And now as a 30-year-old, I would tell you that I trust my gut more than anything, even more than my friends' school of thought and advice. I know you might call it maybe being more in my feelings, but I just believe it's an inner voice. And to be honest, I think it's the God voice for me. So that's my lesson 21. 22, I'm going to rush into this ones. To love yourself is to love others. If you don't love yourself, your flaws, your imperfections, your misfortunes, you can't even love others with the same way. You'll always measure people based on the way you measure yourself. And I do know we're all striving to be better, but if you choose to appreciate yourself and accommodate yourself just the way you are, you'd be able to reciprocate this much better to other people. I used to put myself under so much pressure to be a certain type of way and do things a certain type of way. And that made me also look at people from the same lens. But now I'm like, everybody is just trying to make it in this life. So, you know, the same grace that I give myself is the same grace I extend to other people. So that's my lesson 22. You are what you eat. Sis, you can eat all the burgers and all the donuts and all the McDonald's you want to eat all the chicken you want. But to be honest, your body is going to pay in your 40s and in your 50s. So remember, you're what you eat. Your body is not made of stone. Your body is made of food and water and everything. And I think I would also say it's not just from a food point of view. It's what you take in through all your senses, your ears, your nose, your mouth, everything. So be careful what you put into your life, because this really has an effect on who you end up being in the future. Number 25, your health is key to long life and part of living a fulfilled life. To be honest, if you want to show up at 50, being able to be active, delivering every single, all the results that you want out of life, still making money and living your best life, I don't think an exhausted and a tired and a backbent version of yourself would be able to deliver those things. And I'm not saying those people who've chosen that path, aren't doing the best out of themselves, but I'm just saying I think there's an opportunity to still enjoy life at an older age if you start working on preparing yourself for that time. And I've realized that eating healthy has an impact on mental health and how I show up at work. I've realized that, what I eat also affects how my body reacts. I actually learned a lot of things with regards to how my gut just functions and in relation to mental health and depression. So when I say, looking after your physical health has connection to many other things, like how you show up to social, settings. I mean, being able to ensure that you feel confident in your own body, also just, it exudes that. And I don't know whether it's I don't know, you call them vibrations or whatever that is. But for me, I think I feel more confident knowing that I'm fit. I like the way that I look. And I'm still working on becoming a better version. I think we can have more toned legs and a few other things. But yeah, that's essentially what I'd want to say. Like, it has a more holistic approach to how we end up living eventually. Number 26. Integrity is an important trait for success. I don't know if I'm going to expound that. I think that's just food for thought. Like, integrity is an important trait for success. Integrity. I've realized that if people believe that you can be trusted with a lot of things, it'll create opportunities, and you might even be able to pass stereotypical criteria. People who have integrity are considered for, positions. I do know of people who currently advise like senior people in terms of counsel, and it's not because they have the certifications and the papers and the degree or the experience. It's just that they are just trustworthy people and are known to work diligently and appropriately with good reputation. And so integrity will take you places, in a nutshell. Not all closed doors are bad, and neither are all open doors. So sometimes I know we get depressed and we get frustrated when we see like opportunities, we've missed certain opportunities, or we see certain opportunities and think they are great opportunities, but then, things don't ultimately turn out the way we feel they should have. They're not always good and they're not always bad. So if you want to let life just play out as is and appreciate avoiding, I've been in situations where the guys, have you ever, been in a place that you wanted a job and then you don't get the job and then somebody else gets the job, and then 3 months down the line you hear the company is having a retrenchment and people are losing job, including the position that you wanted. Reality is, a lot of things we don't have our control, but I do know that there's a spiritual element to life, and I do know that life is spiritual, and knowing that, I know that there are always things that are working for me, even when I don't acknowledge that they are. So I've come to realize that there are things that God protects me from, and I'm grateful that happens, but they're not always bad things. And then I'll go into number 28. Make plans for your life and document them, but trust that the grand master planner is in control. We know, 2020, everybody had resolutions and everybody had, things that they wanted to accomplish by the end of the year. But who is God? Things nobody saw the pandemic. Maybe the Chinese saw the pandemic because they were in China in December and they saw this coming. But nobody really saw that we would be in 2021 and still talking about the pandemic and still going through lockdown and all of this. People had business plans, people had a lot of things, but things didn't end up, working as we had planned. But does that mean we should stop planning? No. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so having learned that, I am more intentional. But I would say, if I'm being honest, the roller coaster that I went through in 2020, both from a personal and, from just a general, pandemic point of view, I came into 2021 very uncertain about what my long-term plans are. But the only thing that I did, because I said 2021 is going to be my year of faith and audacity, I decided that I'm making plans based on how far my mind can go. So I have plans for the next 3 months, but I can't tell you what I intend, where do I intend to travel this year. I don't know. I may decide to travel in the next 3 months, and that will be a trip for this year. But this year, I still, considering everything that I went through, I have still been intentional to plan step by step, make little steps of faith in my planning. And so I challenge you to do that. If it's never been your thing, just try planning a day. Try planning a week. Try planning a trip. Try planning your finances. Just try involve God in a lot of the things that you do in your life. Welcoming him in those areas, the small, the big, gives you more ease and more peace, because you know the control is in him. Mental health. To be honest, I never thought that counseling was a thing until, I would say, as my lesson 29. I've always thought that people go for counseling when things are wrong, but I've realized that you should also be going for counseling because, I mean, even when things seem okay, a lot of people have baggage from the past, like things that they've gone through, and they're not always relationship issues or daddy issues. People are struggling from perfectionism. People are struggling from societal, people just negative comments from strangers. I don't know. People are struggling with a lot of things, and they bring those things to the environments in which they show up. I'd want to say, in places like offices, people show up with their own baggage, and relationships, people show up with their own baggage. I think parents and children all show up with their own baggage. So just being able to be conscious enough that to constantly seek help, to be able to shed light in those areas so that you can be able to grow and just be better for the people around you is an important aspect of looking into your well-being. And I'll go into my lesson 30. In a society that is connected and full of information at the palm of your hand, wisdom and understanding is everything. I've come to realize that everybody thinks they know about everything in this world just because we have Google. And the reality is Google gets feeds from people. And so being able to understand that you can read all the books, you can listen to all the audios, you can take in all the content, but understand that you need to apply wisdom to all of this is really key. I've come to realize that knowing the difference between things that apply to me, or also just even being in a situation where I'll even not talk about external content, even while just studying the Bible, is not, the Bible has a lot of text that sometimes seems contradicting and doesn't seem to make sense, and therefore you're always in a situation where you feel like you seeked God for counsel, or you read the Bible and you thought you'd have a full solution to your issue, but then you still are left with questions. The thing is, most times people are seeking information. You'd want a Bible scripture that will just pop up and sound nice. But the thing is, there are deeper things to that. And I'm grateful for the Holy Spirit that I can be able to have deeper understanding and revelation to things just by virtue of help of that. And I don't know about you, how you find where you get what you consider as wisdom. But wisdom is what I consider the knowledge beyond all that we can comprehend, and being able to have a balance of all of that to apply it into our lives, to be more meaningful and more appropriate to situations as opposed to blanket solutions. So I would say that would be my lesson 30. But my bonus highlight point is life is about balance. All of what I've said are appropriate points. But I would say is, if you realize too much of anything is poisonous. So just being able to know what to use where, when, do what, when, where, knowing when to have a good time and when to relax and when to work hard is all essential for a holistic life. So I hope you guys learned a lot and enjoyed a lot of what I shared in today's video. But if you liked whatever point you think made sense to you, I know this is a sit down, and considering it's a long video, I hope you guys took the time to listen to the end. If you've managed to listen to the end, like, share, subscribe, tag me, and you could be lucky to receive something special from me. And I'll be sharing this more on my Instagram post. So looking forward to see you guys on my podcast community. Find me on Facebook, on Truth Republic. Like and share this video. Look forward to the rest of the content that I'm coming up with. And also, don't forget to join the community. Raise the standard by being the standard. Take care. Bye. It's a happy birthday from me and to me, I guess.